Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to Diz Connected, an unofficial Disney podcast of magical proportions. I'm Whit Laxon, your Disney enthusiast host, and coming up...
I think it's more of an adult story because Christopher Robin is an adult in this movie and he's dealing with adult issues.
The music is too good for a DCOM, and it would be, I'm sure, even better watching it on stage.
I mean, that to me is the biggest Star Wars news since the Disney purchase was announced.
Now, Freeform is going to be bigger for Halloween than the 25 Days of Christmas. Hey guys, what's up? It's Whit, back for another episode of Diz Connected, and joining me as always via Skype is my friend and fellow Disney enthusiast, Katie Carter. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Whit.
Hey. Well, Katie, it's been a minute, which I find myself saying every time we record an episode now, but it's been a minute. How has your summer been?
It's been all right. I've been, kind of busy, but I've also had some time to do some fun things, so it's been pretty nice.
Yeah, same right here. And I'm glad we can get together and discuss a few things. We will take a look back at summer 2018 today in Disney, talk about some of our favorite Disney happenings of the season. We also have reviews coming up of Christopher Robin and Freaky Friday. I'm going to have more to say about Freaky Friday, actually, so get ready for that, the new DCOM, of course. And then we'll talk about the latest Disney news, and we'll look ahead for what's coming up the rest of the year as well. So are you ready to do this, Katie?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get started. Well, jumping into the review of the latest Disney theatrical release, Christopher Robin. This is, of course, the live-action take on Winnie the Pooh. And yeah, Katie, I asked if you could give the synopsis on this. So what do you have for the story?
So Christopher Robin is, of course, the story of Christopher Robin and the 100-Acre Wood and Winnie the Pooh. But Christopher Robin, who's usually a little boy, is grown up in this one. So we see him briefly at the beginning of the film as a young boy bidding farewell to Pooh and his friends in the 100-Acre Wood. We go through a montage of his life, and he fights in World War II and gets married and has a daughter, and he comes out of it as a businessman working for this company that sells luggage, and he's really busy all the time. He's really stressed. He's just really focused on his work and loses sight of his family and fun. And it's at that moment in his life when Winnie the Pooh comes back, and the relationship is not the same as it once was. Christopher's a lot more frustrated at just the simple view that Pooh has on things, but eventually kind of wins him back over and kind of changes his view of things and gets Christopher Robin closer to his family too. So it's kind of this story of him, as a disillusioned adult, rediscovering his childhood through Pooh and his friends.
Yeah. And I've been really anticipating this movie. I love Winnie the Pooh. I've been saying for a while that this was coming out around my birthday, and I couldn't wait to go see it on my birthday. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see it opening weekend or anything, and it was a couple of weeks after it actually came out that I finally got to the theater. But my big reaction was, well, this wasn't really anything worth rushing out to see anyway. Although, it's a very cute, very simple movie. I liked it. But it wasn't something that I should have been trying to rush out to see. And I didn't, so.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I saw it opening day, actually, just because I was free that day, and I usually try and go see things as soon as possible. But it's just a very, kind of mundane story, a little dull at times. It's just very straightforward. I think that there are a lot of really sweet individual moments, and there's a lot of great nostalgia surrounding Winnie the Pooh and Piglet and Tigger and all of those characters. That's really great, and I really liked a lot of the scenes with them. I think the story with Christopher Robin and his daughter, that was just kind of meh.
Yeah.
To me in comparison. I would have rather, I came out of it that was okay, but I would have rather just watched the whole movie about Winnie the Pooh than about Pooh and Robin and the family and all that drama.
Yeah. It's a very adult movie. And that
It
was
is,
something.
yeah. It's not a kids' movie.
Yeah, that was something that we were talking about with Incredibles 2 as well, although this is very different from that even. But there were a lot of young kids in the showing that I went to. I was actually like squished in between two families. Ugh. But the kids were really restless, and the adults were laughing more and were more engaged than the kids. And so that's the direction Disney decided to take it, which is fine. That's what I wanted. I really didn't want them to take this direction. I've been saying since this was announced, I didn't want them to go the direction of like the live action Smurfs movie. And that was not what this was at all. So in that way, I was happy. But the movie it was underwhelming, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it is very rooted in nostalgia, and it's definitely geared toward people like us and older adults who have grown up with these stories and are already familiar with these characters, because we're automatically going to engage with them more. I mean, as soon as we see Winnie the Pooh, it's like, oh, there's Pooh and there's the voice and all of that. And kids who maybe aren't as familiar, they're not going to have that same reaction. And this movie doesn't have like the comedy and the slapstick and all of that to really engage them. I think it's more of an adult story because Christopher Robin is an adult in this movie and he's dealing with adult issues. And not to say that kids won't enjoy it or that it's not appropriate for them, but it's just not a kid's movie. I mean, I think that they'd probably find it a little boring.
Right, yeah. And yeah, you're touching on the nostalgia. I found it to be nostalgic a little bit. Like, it definitely didn't hit me in the way that I was hoping. Although some scenes, I would say the scene with Pooh on the train with Christopher Robin, loved that scene where he's like playing a game and like he's naming the stuff that he sees. I loved that. You were also talking kind of about it not being slapstick. I mean, Winnie the Pooh has always been very smart humor, because the characters, they're not the brightest. And so that was still there. So I loved that.
There was definitely less of that in that movie, though, in this movie. Like when you compare it to, say, the newest Winnie the Pooh movie that has a lot more like songs and a lot more funny dialogue and humorous situations that the characters get into.
Right, yeah. Even as an adult, I prefer the 2011 Winnie the Pooh animated movie over this. So yeah. And there were some songs in this. Richard Sherman actually is in the credits doing a song. And shoot, I can't remember what that song was called. Let me look it up because it was a big theme in the movie. I see Busy Doing Nothing and Christopher Robin. I think it's Busy Doing Nothing.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and it's, it's cute, but it was kind of odd.
It was fine.
Okay.
It's great to see Richard Sherman in here, regardless.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And I mean, Jim Cummings is the voice of Pooh. And
well, the actors, too.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor, Haley Atwell. What'd you think about them?
I thought they were fine. I mean, I don't think that the script gave them a lot of great things to work with, but I didn't think that they were bad, but I didn't think that they were like amazing. I do really like both of them as actors a lot, so it was fun to see them in this movie together. But I love the montage at the beginning of the movie. I think that was one of my favorite, if not favorite part, that montage that just takes you through Christopher's life from the time he leaves the 100-acre wood for the last time to when he's grown and has a family and has been in the war. I thought that was really beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the movie kind of goes downhill from there, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I like that they also, at the beginning, and even sometimes throughout the movie, they included the storybook element, because in the old Winnie the Pooh movies, we always see the book and we have the narrator. And even though there wasn't a narrator in this, you saw the text, which one of the moms beside me was like reading it to the kid. I was like,
oh no.
Oh yeah. So I did have a narrator in my screening. Let's talk character design for like Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, all those characters. I was fine with it. When I saw the trailers, I was like, okay, so they're taking a very much like, those look like stuffed animals. They're taking that approach. I did not like the design of Owl and Rabbit at all, because they looked like a real rabbit and a real owl, and the other characters looked like stuffed animals. It bothered me.
Well, that was intentional because in the stories, and I didn't really realize this before, but Owl and Rabbit are supposed to be real animals, whereas the rest of the characters are supposed to be stuffed animals. So I think that's why they designed the characters differently in this movie. But that is something I initially thought. I was like, oh, they look so real and the others don't. And I read afterwards, it was like, oh, okay, they are supposed to be real.
Okay.
It's kind of weird, but I guess if you know the intention behind that, it makes more sense.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. I didn't know that, but okay. And Gopher was not featured, but Gopher was also not in the books, so, which is a joke from the original Mini Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So, yeah.
I forgot about Gopher.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gopher.
Yeah. And I never saw the movie last year, Goodbye, Christopher Robin. I know that's a totally different movie, but any comparisons or anything to say about that?
I mean, that's not a good movie either.
Okay.
I would say maybe this movie is better. Goodbye, Christopher Robin is just very sad because it's all about the author and how he used his son for inspiration for Christopher Robin, and it just kind of ended up ruining the real life Christopher's life, and it's just kind of a depressing movie, and all the characters are really like unlikable, and so I can't say that I recommend that movie either. This one's, a little bit more lighthearted, and it's nice to see Winnie the Pooh and those actual characters in the movie as well.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Overall, for me, I say see it, but don't rush out to see it. At this point, it's been in theaters a while, so if you haven't seen it in theaters now, you're probably going to wait for the home release anyway. But yeah, just wait. It's no big rush. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, moving on now to the latest Disney Channel original movie, which is a musical version of Freaky Friday. We've known about this for about a year, I think. I feel like it's been about a year since this was announced. Yeah, it premiered on August 10th, the day after my birthday. Sorry, I keep mentioning my birthday, but whatever. So, yeah.
Happy late birthday.
Thanks. So, yeah, premiered August 10th. I watched it the night it premiered. I wasn't, super highly anticipating, but I wanted to hate watch, I guess. There was a little bit of hate watch involved, but for the most part, this movie, it wasn't terrible at all. The musical numbers are great. The modern, DCOM isms of it all, not good. That's unfortunate. But it's almost like the music is too good for a DCOM, I feel like. And I'm going to go back and give some context here because it is based on a Disney theatrical production. But anyway, any initial thoughts on the movie that you want to share?
I was going to say, I was actually excited to watch it. I wasn't planning on hate watching it because I knew that it was based on this existing theater piece. And I was like, okay, so the music's going to be better. I've heard a little bit of the music before. I knew a little bit of the story that they had developed for the stage, which is different from what we've seen in the previous movies. Definitely agree that the music is great. It's definitely a lot better than what we've seen from a lot of recent DCOMs. The story is just it doesn't hit all of the emotional notes that I wanted it to,
right.
I feel like when you compare it to the Lindsay Lohan one, which is great and really funny, and also a really good mother-daughter drama. I feel like this movie was missing a lot of that, and that's really where it falls short. So the music's definitely better than the story.
Yeah, absolutely. It did not. That was one of my notes. It didn't have the emotional impact of the Lilo and Jamie Lee Curtis version at all. But let me back up and just give a little history here. This is the Freaky Friday franchise almost at this point that Disney's been doing. This is the fourth Freaky Friday movie from Disney. It's based on a book by Mary Rogers from 1972. There was a 1976 movie with Barbara Harris and Jodie Foster, a 1995 TV movie starring Shelley Long from Cheers. And a side note, I remember that one, but I always thought it was Olivia Newton-John, I think, as the mom. And they kind of look alike, those two actresses. But yeah, it wasn't. It was from the girl from Cheers. And Gabby Hoffman was the daughter in that one. Then in 2003, we had the Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan version, arguably the most popular and successful version. I think that's probably the one that most people think of when they hear Freaky Friday. And then in 2016, Disney did a theatrical production of this, and they decided to develop that into a Disney Channel original movie. And I think I texted you about when this was coming on, and you were kind of like, why is this happening or whatever? And I said, well, they want to be able to get this sent to schools and community theaters because it's not, it didn't go to Broadway or anything, so they're going to license it out. But yeah.
I mean, that's really only why they developed in the first place, was for licensing. If you go back, there's a podcast from about a year ago.
Yeah, I've listened to that.
Did you listen to it?
The Disney theatrical?
It's really interesting. Yeah. Kind of gives more background and stuff on that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, in this version of the movie, I mean, it for the most part, it follows the same scenario. But the mother and the daughter, it's Ellie and Catherine Blake. They are played by Cozy Zulsdorf and Heidi Blickenstaff. And so the daughter, Ellie, she's kind of rough around the edges. She's a teenager. And Catherine is a mom of 2 kids. She has her own catering business. And she's about to get remarried after losing her husband, so Ellie's father. And that the film, again, follows the same premise of the other Freaky Fridays. This one does revolve around an hourglass that magically causes them to switch bodies, and that's the whole thing. It's like a mother and daughter who are at odds, and then they switch bodies and they learn a lesson about walking in each other's shoes. They get perspective. It's the whole thing. And another different element to this version is something called The Hunt, which I listened to that podcast, so I knew that was coming. But it's a big scavenger hunt event that the teens in the movie are participating in. It's
really weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
through the whole movie leading up to it, I was like, where are they going with this hunt? Why does this need to be here? And then you kind of find out toward the end, this is an excuse for them to look for the hourglass. Yeah. But it's still weird.
But I didn't like how we even got to that. It was strange. There could have been a better way to have, it could have been like, ooh, that hourglass is a part of the hunt, but it wasn't, and I don't know.
No.
So, yeah.
And then, the brother runs away, but not for very long.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really going to be, the big thing at the end of the movie, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say this. I loved the musical numbers. But other than that, the movie, the story and the dialogue and all that, I wasn't a really big fan of. So touching on the musical numbers, these were big songs. These were big musical stage songs that just felt to me like they felt trapped in the way that they were staged and in the way that they were shot. But I could picture them in my head, as if they would be on stage much bigger and they would have that feel. Do you agree, disagree?
No, I agree. We're used to seeing these DCOMs that have this very auto-tune generic pop music, and now you have this movie that has these big Broadway songs, but the movie surrounding them is still that same generic DCOM. Mm-hmm. So it is very strange. And maybe with a bigger budget or something, maybe they could have gone even bigger with it and had more of a big movie musical for this. But just as a DCOM, and putting it on that smaller scale, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. And this
doesn't fully work.
This is the first musical DCOM that's based on an existing musical, because everything else we've had up to this point is original. So it's a different musical style, like you said, than High School Musical and the others. And yeah, it was different, but I will say that I loved that the singing wasn't the auto-tune wasn't an issue here. It was light on the auto-tune for sure. So I was like, thank goodness.
I think wasn't Heidi Blickenstaff in the original cast developing the stage version?
Yes. Yeah. So the mom, the actress who played the mom, Heidi Blickenstaff, as you just said, she was in the original. She was in some other productions as they moved along, and then they brought her on to do this. I thought both the mom and the daughter, the 2 actresses, I thought they were great.
Oh, yeah.
So for sure. I think the daughter had more of an interesting storyline than the mom character for me. So at times I think that the actress, the younger actress, Cozy, might have upstaged the mom just a little bit, but it was just the mom's storyline didn't interest me as much. So let's talk about the songs kind of individually here, because there are 10 songs, most of which are from the stage musical. I went back and listened to the cast album, and they edited the songs for sure. I mean, the musical is more adult, so they just kind of edited a word or two here and there. And my favorites are the opening number, Just One Day. Well, technically that's the second number in the movie because they have a cute little animated sequence at the beginning, which I think was an homage to the Jodie Foster movie, which also has an animated opening. But Just One Day, which is like the first big number, and then Today and Every Day at the very end, because that one, we were talking about the emotional impact. And sure, this movie didn't have a big buildup. It only, like, one big difference between this one and the Lindsay Lohan is that Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, their characters were switched bodies for like a week. And in this version, they only switched bodies for a day. So there wasn't as much time and there wasn't as much story development surrounding them to have that emotional impact. But for Today and Every Day, like when they're singing to each other and when they are realizing, like, what if we're stuck this way forever? And the young girl, she's like, I missed all my college years. I'll never experience it. And the mom's like, I'm going to have to go through all the things that hurt again. Like, that got me. That got me.
Yeah.
Like, and listening to it without watching the movie, I've done that a few times. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is good stuff. And it would be, I'm sure, even better watching it on stage. So, but those are my two favorites. Did you have a favorite?
I think it's the one that they do during the hunt that got stuck in my head for a while after watching it. And I can't remember the name of the song, but it was very catchy.
It's like Go or something.
Yeah, a lot of really catchy, like upbeat numbers. But I definitely agree with you about the song at the end. And just both of their voices are like so powerful.
Yeah.
And, it was so good.
Yeah, we've never seen that in a DCOM.
No.
So, and again, I was like, here they are belting this out at the altar.
Right.
And like, it just felt so small as in that moment. I don't know. So, and there is like they added the two songs that they added, I think the one at the very beginning, that title sequence, and then the number at the end, which was essentially kind of we're all in this together. It was supposed to be that kind of moment. I liked that song, but it was weird that like the mom didn't sing on it and stuff. I don't know. It was fine.
I feel like they were just trying to cater to the younger crowd there.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Oh Biology song a little bit? Because...
Oh, yeah.
Did that bother you at all? I get what they were doing, and I like the song, but when you're sitting there and you're watching it, it's like, okay, so this mom, this 40-year-old woman who's in this 16-year-old girl's body is having... feelings for this guy. I don't know. I was like, but it's biology, so it's okay. Like, that's the point.
It's a bit weird.
It's weird.
Is the point of the song that she can't help it?
Yeah, that's the point.
Because she's in this younger body now.
No, that's the point.
But, because her mind is still the older woman.
I mean, it would be funnier if it was more of an adult movie, and on stage it is more of an adult situation, so... But I'm sure that's going to be like a big song now for kids who would grow up and get into biology class. They're going to be like, oh my goodness, like, because the lyrics are kingdom, phylum, class, and order, family, genus, and they're going to know that already going into biology class. It's kind of like when I was growing up when we started studying the bones in middle school and we knew the Bone Dance song from Hannah Montana. Anyway, I would love to see it on stage. It has a cult feel to it. Like, it's not going to be one of those pop culture phenomenon Disney Channel original movies. It's going to be a little more like, I think, Lemonade Mouth, maybe. So, yeah.
I mean, I was going to say it's the best DCOM I've seen in a while, but that really isn't saying much. So, but I mean, it is, but...
I say watch it, though. I say check it out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially if you love musicals.
Mm-hmm. And we really didn't even talk about like how this, like the writers for this musical are the people who did Next to Normal and all these big Broadway shows. But anyway, okay, getting into some of the latest Disney news. Katie, Star Wars, what do you have for today?
And that's that hashtag Clone Wars is saved. That to me is the biggest Star Wars news since the Disney purchase was announced. Wow. Backstory on Clone Wars really quick for those who aren't too familiar. It started in 2008, was an animated series on Cartoon Network. It was run by George Lucas and Dave Filoni. It ran for 5 seasons, so through 2012. And then the Disney purchase happened, and the show was canceled after the 5th season, which was really sad. It also kind of made sense. It's a Cartoon Network show. Why would Disney want that? And, George Lucas stepped out. Dave Filoni went on to do Star Wars Rebels for Disney XD. And Clone Wars is just such a great show. It has such a great following. It really filled in that gap between Revenge of the Sith and The Force Awakens. There are a lot of people who became Star Wars fans because of Clone Wars, but I don't think anybody ever thought that it would come back. I mean, Dave Filoni has extensively discussed what his plans for the show had been had they gotten more seasons. But anyway, at San Diego Comic-Con, there was a panel celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Clone Wars this year. And at the end, they debuted a teaser trailer for an upcoming new season. There's going to be 12 new episodes of the Clone Wars. Everybody's coming back for it. It's going to be exclusively on the Disney streaming service next year, which I guess they've announced now it's called Disney Play. So we're getting 12 new episodes of the Clone Wars. Not really sure what it's about yet, but we got a great teaser trailer for it at Comic-Con. And it's just so exciting. I'm really excited. A lot of people are excited. Just so happy that they're going to get to finish the show on their terms. And, they said 12 episodes. They didn't say that this was like the final 12. So maybe they're even planning more seasons in the future. I don't know. But I'm just really excited that we're getting more of this.
I'm happy.
So
I'm
good.
excited for you, actually.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us kind of felt like maybe there was another animated show in the works, just because Dave Filoni is he's supervising producer or something on Star Wars Resistance, which is the new show coming out this fall on Disney and Disney XD. But he was very heavily involved in Clone Wars and Rebels. So we were there's got to be something else that he's really involved in. And I think a lot of people thought that it would be a follow-up to Rebels, the way that Rebels ended. But Clone Wars coming back, it's crazy. And I think some of it is probably Disney just thinking, okay, with this streaming service, how can we get people to subscribe? And, oh, hey, more Clone Wars. Now they're automatically getting a bunch of people who are well, no matter what else you're putting on this thing, I'm going to subscribe for the new Clone Wars episodes. But it's just really great. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and happy 10th anniversary to Clone Wars.
Yeah.
That was the movie that they made. That was the 10th anniversary last month, right?
Well, the movie came out in summer 2008, and then the show premiered that fall. So it's the 10th anniversary of both the movie and the show. But I highly recommend watching the show if you've never seen it. I know the movie initially got a lot of really bad rap when it first came out, but the show is just so amazing. It really is some of the best Star Wars out there. So you've got to watch it if you haven't.
Okay.
And it's on Netflix still. So.
All right. Well, moving on to some live-action Disney news, we've learned a little bit more about the live-action Jungle Cruise movie that is being made. Emily Blunt is going to be in the film, and they released a little promo with her and Dwayne Johnson, who we also knew was a part of this movie. And yeah, it's coming out next October. They had that introduction announcement video with Emily and Dwayne, and then Dwayne had another promo that came out where he was showing off the set and kind of talking about the history of the Jungle Cruise ride. And it looks like they rebuilt the Jungle Cruise, the ride, but made it bigger, and just, it's pretty incredible. I don't know that you've seen that video, but
I haven't watched the whole video, but I've seen pictures or screenshots of it, I guess. And yeah, it definitely looks like they're just hanging out at the ride. Obviously I'll go see it, and hopefully it'll be good. I think the comedic nature of the ride will definitely lend itself to the movie in some way.
Sure. Yeah. Even more exciting for us, Katie, Mulan. We've seen the first image of the actress playing Mulan as Mulan. And yeah, that's that's out there, and I'm excited. There's a lot of questions surrounding this movie. They've announced some more stuff about the cast, but yeah, what do you think of the picture?
I think she looks cool. I mean, it's not like a full body shot, so we still don't see like a lot of her costume and all of that, but she looks fierce.
Yeah, it's clearly just a promo picture. Like, it's not on set during the movie. She's got long hair in the picture. She's got a sword. So, yeah, anyway. We also have a trailer for The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, which is coming out November 2nd. And that's actually the next, like, Disney movie that's coming out this year. So we've got 2 months without a new Disney theatrical release. But it looks a lot like Alice in Wonderland, and it's got that very digital look of some of these movies, that Disney's done. I don't know. I'm not jumping up and down about it, but
I don't know either. Yeah, I mean, that was my initial reaction when I saw more of the trailer, was like, this looks like the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. And I mean, I really love the Nutcracker. I love the story. I love the music. But I don't get any sort of vibe that this is going to be anything like that original story. I mean, I definitely think they're going in more of an Alice in Wonderland direction, both with the story and with the visuals. And it looks like Claire is going to be like some sort of warrior. I don't know. And Keira Knightley has like a strange accent. She's the Sugar Plum Fairy. I already kind of hate her in this movie, and I love her. So that makes me sad.
When I heard her talking, I was like, no.
Why did you make her do that? If it was going to be like a nice like holiday Nutcracker movie, I would be like, oh yeah, cool. But I just don't get that vibe from this at all. So
I think it's something that they probably spent a lot of money on, and it will not make that back.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do well. I hate to say that, but I don't think it's going to do well.
Well, they have Wreck-It Ralph coming out like less than 3 weeks later, so that'll fix things. And I do want to mention that Ralph Breaks the Internet is now the official title for the Wreck-It Ralph sequel. Like, it's no longer Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2. It's just Ralph Breaks the Internet. So just wanted to throw that out there. And one last little news note here. Mickey is celebrating his 90th birthday. There's going to be a TV special for the occasion. November 4th on ABC. It's the 90th anniversary of Steamboat Willie. 2-hour primetime special. I'm pretty excited. Like, let's see what they got. I love a good Disney primetime, like, TV thing, so I'll be excited for that. And happy birthday to Mickey coming up. Finally today, Katie, of course, summer is coming to an end. And so let's look back at summer 2018, really starting in April, the end of April, with Avengers. And to now, I mean, we had Avengers, we had Solo, we had Incredibles 2, we had, Ant-Man and the Wasp, then we had Christopher Robin and all the things in between at the parks. We had Toy Story Land, we had Pixar Pier. What was kind of a highlight for you? I mean, I think I know the answer, but it's fine.
Solo.
Right. I knew it.
Solo and Clone Wars. Like,
yeah.
I really, really like Solo, and I feel like time is just dragging on until it comes out on Blu-ray. And I wish it was still in theaters because I really want to see it again. And there's so much of that movie that I really, really loved. And of course, Clone Wars coming back, like I said before, is such a huge deal. So a lot of good Star Wars things happening this summer, especially, considering that we don't have another movie until the end of next year. So yeah, it's exciting.
I'm gonna say Incredibles 2 because I loved that. But honestly, I saw Solo 2 times in theaters, so I really liked that movie too. And yeah, I mean, looking ahead to the rest of the year, we really don't have anything again until November with Nutcracker, and then Wreck-It Ralph, and then Mary Poppins will be around Christmas. They moved the date to December 19th, so it'll be out a little before December 25th. But yeah, the year's flying by now. I mean, they already have Halloween stuff going on at the parks. That started August 17th? They started.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, they started early.
Yep, they did. And Freeform, I saw, they usually do the 13 nights of Halloween. Freeform is doing 31 nights of Halloween this year, so.
I feel like Halloween is just, with the internet, it's just like increasingly, I don't know, it's like a thing.
I know.
I don't know how else to say it.
I was
so
thinking,
I feel like that's probably definitely why their Freeform is changing it.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was going to say like a cult following. But
yeah, it's almost like now Freeform is going to be bigger for Halloween than the 25 days of Christmas. Because if you've got 31 days of Halloween movies and only 25 of Christmas, although they do like a whole big countdown to the 25 days of Christmas. So whatever. All right. And that's all for this episode of Disconnected. Katie, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, as always. And be sure to follow mine and Katie's social media links in the description below. Until next time, have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon, folks.